Welcome to the Home Team Sacramento podcast. I'm your host, Josh Takimoto, and today I'm by myself. No guest today, but I still wanted to hop on here and chat just a little bit about something that just kind of came to me just a couple days ago, and it's from a book called Tribes. And if you've never, it's called Tribes. We Need You to Lead Us, and it's by Seth Godin, one of my favorite books. It's not a long read. I mean, I think it's not even 100. Is it 100 pages? 140 pages? I mean, it's maybe 150 pages. It's pretty short, but the content in this book is incredible, and especially for a leader of athletes or an athlete student leader, a student athlete leader, the concepts in this book are really incredible. And I would really recommend it for anybody who finds themselves in a position of leadership or who is trying to create a tribe or is trying to bring a group of people together to become something more. I would highly recommend this book. I can't say that enough. And like I said, it's a short read. So it's not going to take up a ton of time, but I think you'll really enjoy the content that you find in there. And I want to kind of talk a little bit more about what tribes look like and how that applies to our teams. But before I do, anytime I talk about teams or teamwork, I've done a couple of team talks like this. I always think of this video that I saw years ago from that documentary series, Planet Earth. I don't know if you guys remember that, but they would go to these really exotic places on these islands and these different places that had just beautiful wildlife, just crazy animals that you would just never see at your local zoo. I mean, just wild stuff. And they were capturing them in their natural habitat and seeing how they interacted and how they lived life. And I'll never forget, there was one video I saw where it was a lizard, like an iguana of some kind, and he was just kind of chilling there on this rock in the Galapagos Islands. And they pan back a little bit, and you see this black snake start to approach the iguana, and they go back and forth, back and forth. The way it's edited is really fast paced, and they're building up the attention. It's like, what's going to happen? Does this iguana even see the snake? Is the snake going to get him? What's going to happen? And then all of a sudden, after this tension's built up, boom, the snake pounces and the iguana just takes off. And he's running for his life. And I'm not a fan of snakes at all. I hate snakes. And so even the sight of one snake like that pursuing this iguana freaked me out. But then to make matters worse, they pan back and they're following this iguana run, and these black snakes of the same kind are coming out of everywhere, in between rocks, under rocks, out of the sand. I mean, these snakes were everywhere pursuing this iguana. If you don't like snakes like me, this is like a nightmare. This is like the worst thing you could possibly see. And they're showing this dramatic chase, and this iguana is running and running and dodging. And then it gets to a point where it gets trapped, and these snakes are completely surrounding this iguana and entangling this iguana. And you're looking like, this is it. This is game over for this iguana. Like, there's no way this iguana is getting out of this situation. And you're watching it thinking like you're about to watch the execution of an iguana by all these snakes. And then as this thing is fighting, it somehow miraculously slips out of this pack of snakes and then starts climbing the rocks like a mad lizard, and is jumping from rock to rock. The snakes are falling one by one. And finally, this iguana jumps to this last ledge. One final snake lunges to try to grab the iguana before it escapes. And luckily, the iguana escaped this brutal, savage attack that was about to happen, or that did occur, and could have ended, very poorly for this iguana. And then the iguana just kind of goes off and is like, hey, it's just another Tuesday. No big deal. I just escaped death. And it's one of those things I'm like, that's an incredible video. And in fact, if you want to have some fun with that video, there's also a version where they dub over an interview by Marshawn Lynch, where he's basically narrating. It was like a 75, 80-yard touchdown run that he had. And they dub it over, and it actually matches up really well with that video. So it's pretty funny, but excuse me. The thing that I found fascinating about that video, and how I always felt like that applied to teams, is once I finished that video, there was that suggested video that YouTube, pops up. And I clicked on it because it was a behind the scenes video of, what went into the making of that. And so you watch it, and it's like, first of all, it's amazing because that whole scene that was so dramatic, that took a couple minutes to unfold, it really happens way quicker. like the way they shot it and edited it, it's an amazing piece of art that they created, but it really in real time is crazy fast. Like this iguana runs, these snakes are all over it. It's so much different than what you see in the edited version. But that wasn't even the interesting part. The interesting thing was the subtitles that were playing as this, the behind the scenes footage was showing. And they made a point of saying these snakes are the same kind of snake and they're pursuing the same prey. But make no mistake, they are not working together. They are single-minded, single-focused, and they are all in it for themselves. And I thought that, man, that's a really interesting way of seeing that video now. Because when you first look at it, it's like, man, these things are working together to catch the iguana. But then once you watch the behind the scenes stuff, you realize, oh, they're not working together at all, even though they appear to be. They're just going after the same thing. And then after I saw that, I couldn't help but wonder. I wonder if they were working together, if they would have caught the iguana, if they had this team first mentality rather than this individual seeking their own prey. I wonder if they would have caught it instead of the iguana having the ability to escape. And obviously, that can happen with teams, right? Like we get involved with our own goals, our own personal accomplishments, our own personal stats. And we're trying so desperately to show off to the world and to the crowd what we can do. We want to show off to the college scouts that are at the game, or we want to show off to the other team that what we can do and how we're better than them. And we get so focused on proving ourselves. We get so focused on bolstering our own stats that we sometimes can lose sight of the team's goals, what the team is trying to accomplish. And when that happens, I think a lot of messiness can happen. And then ultimately, just like the snake and the iguana, we get all entangled with each other and we get in each other's way and we cause each other to stumble. And eventually we just lose the ultimate goal, which is to have team success or to win a championship or to win a league title, state title. We lose that because we've placed our own individual efforts and our own individual accomplishments and goals over what's best for the team. And so I thought it was just an amazing way to kind of capture that idea and what can happen if we're not working together, but we're so focused on our own goals. And that's really where this idea of this book, Tribes, comes in. And why it kind of it struck me the other day. It's a book I've read a couple of times and it's one that I really enjoy, but it just hit me the other day. I don't, one of the interesting things from the book, it says that a crowd does not equal a tribe. A crowd does not equal a tribe. And I feel like that applies to a team. I think you could be considered a team. You might wear the same uniform. You might play for the same school. You might technically play for the same, play the same sport. But at the end of the day, that doesn't mean you're a tribe. I mean, just you're kind of a group. You're a crowd. You're a group of people that play the same sport. And that's kind of where it ends. It doesn't necessarily equal a tribe. I think a tribe is something much greater. And see, in the book, it says a tribe is a crowd, or excuse me, a crowd is a tribe without a leader. A crowd is a tribe without communication. And obviously a leader is huge when it comes to a team, having multiple leaders. The coach obviously is the leader of the team, but then you have athlete leaders, the captains of the teams that are also leaders of that team. Hugely, hugely important to the success of a team and the culture of a program, having people that are leaders that lead the charge and everybody follows behind and that they know they can trust. That's huge. And then obviously communication, like it's huge. Anytime whether it's on the field or on the court, while you're running plays or you're moving the ball, there's communication that needs to happen, both verbal and nonverbal. And that's the better that communication is, the more successful you're going to be able to be at executing your plays and your plan and your game plan. And then when that communication starts falling apart, it becomes a mess. And then it trickles down to other areas off the court too, right? Like if communication is not good, then people start missing practice because they don't know what time practice is, or they start missing assignments because, it's a whole different thing, on and off the court, but like those things all affect the team. And that communication or lack of communication can be detrimental. But again, when it comes to being a tribe, that communication has to be there, because if the communication isn't there between the team and the coaches and the team, the coaches and the coaches, then it's not really a tribe. It's just a crowd. It's just a group of people that are kind of all there together in the same vicinity. See, I think if we have the mentality that we want to take our teams to the next level, we have to have this mentality that we're trying to create a tribe, because the beautiful thing about tribes is that they're more long lasting. It's not something that just lasts for that season. Even though you may not have that group of student athletes beyond that year, maybe they move on to the next level. If they're a freshman or a JV team, they move on to that next level, and you just had them that 1 year. Maybe they're, you have a group full of seniors, majority seniors, and then the next year that team's going to look completely different. A whole different group of people is going to come in. The tribe is not, that tribe mentality is not limited to the one team that you had that year. The amazing thing about that tribe mentality is that it begins to penetrate the culture of your team, and it becomes the standard that you set for your team. And then people at the lower levels realize, man, when I reach that varsity level, there's a certain expectation of how I behave. There's a certain expectation of my work ethic and what I do and the effort that I put into it. And then it trickles down even lower. So within your community, people are, you have young kids, young athletes that are looking at this program thinking, man, one day I want to play baseball or basketball or football or wrestle, golf, whatever your sport you're playing. They're looking at that thinking, man, one day I'm going to play for that high school. And even at that young age, they know, but I know if I want to play for that team, I've got to put the work in, because they accept nothing less than excellence. And I'm not even talking about wins and losses. I'm talking about just the mentality, the controllables, the things that an athlete can control, the things that a coach can control. They know when they walk into that situation that, like I said, hard work ethic, character, honor, integrity, those things are non-negotiable. Those things are requirements when you step onto that field or that court for that program. If you want to be a part of that tribe, it's a protective tribe. It's not something that just anybody can join in, because the integrity of that tribe is too valuable. Everybody in that tribe is counting on the leader of that tribe to protect that tribe and guard who comes in and who comes out, because they want people with the same vision. They want people with the same mission and the mindset that says, we do things a certain way on this team. We hold ourselves to a higher standard. And if you're willing to run with us to meet that standard, then welcome to the tribe. But if you're not, no problem. But this is probably not the best place for you, because it's not going to be the best for you, and it's not going to be the best for our tribe. And so I think having that tribe mentality is huge when it comes to our athletic teams, especially here on this home team of Sacramento. Like, I would hope that a lot of people have this mentality that they're trying to create a tribe. And I think the thing about tribes too is that it's not dependent on wins and losses. One of our most recent episodes, we were talking to Dwight Taylor Sr., and he was saying, it takes a special coach to understand that success doesn't mean necessarily wins and losses. Like, you might have a team that went 0-16. And if you have a tribe mentality, there is still so much you can teach as a coach in those moments. It may not be what you wanted. It may not look like you were hoping. No one wants to have a losing season. That's not fun. Everybody's trying to win. Everybody wants to win a title. Everybody wants to win a league title, or have a lot of success. I mean, of course, that's why we compete. Like, we don't compete to lose. We compete to win. But the bottom line is, sometimes, whether it's because of a lack of numbers, whether it's a lack of talent that year, sometimes, the wins are just going to be elusive. Sometimes that's not going to be the reality of your situation. Sometimes you're going to be stuck in a situation where you don't have the talent you would like, and you're just, you're going to lose. Not to be negative, but like, there's going to be times where you just feel like, man, we're probably not going to win any games this year. We're having a rough season. But as a coach, does that give you the right to, you know, not teach? Does that give you the right to just kind of throw in the towel? I don't think so. I think at the end of the day, your title is still coach. So even though it may look a lot different, and even though you're not planning, your game plan like you normally would to win a game or to win, a competitive game, you might have to go back to the basics and say, okay, we're still a tribe. We're still trying to create better human beings out here. And even if we don't win, what can I teach them today? What life lessons can I teach using this vehicle of sports? And I think if you're not willing to do that, then like, why are you coaching? It doesn't make any sense to me. It's too difficult of a job. It takes too much time. It takes too much sacrifice to just mail it in because you're not winning. It doesn't make any sense to me. And I'm not a coach. It's a difficult job, but like what I feel really confident saying, and I don't apologize about this, is like, if you're only about the wins and the losses and your attitude towards coaching is dictated by the wins and the losses, then you're not going to have that much impact. In the grand scheme of life, you're not going to have that much of an impact. Because I've been on teams where the teams aren't very good, and you can tell the coach is only half in it, and it just brings everybody down. It's like, well, hey, coach, I know we're not very good, but we're trying, man, and we feel that you don't want to be here. So it's like, what are we doing? And it creates this negative vibe. When even in the losses, is that not a perfect opportunity to teach your team how to handle losses, how to handle disappointment? How do you handle consistent disappointment when it seems like everything's going against you? And see, I think a coach that doesn't have this mentality of creating a tribe and creating a movement is not going to take advantage of every single opportunity. It's not going to get creative and think of ways, how do I teach them something in this moment? I think only the coaches that have this heart and this mindset that says, you know what, no matter what the outcome is, I'm going to teach these student athletes something about themselves. I'm going to help them learn something about themselves, and I'm going to help them learn something from this moment. Because if it's just a loss, then that loss is kind of wasted. But if you can take that loss, if you can take those failures and mold that and change that into something that can be used as a positive, then that loss is not worthless. It's actually worth a lot. It's going to benefit your athletes in the long run. But you as a leader have to be willing to do the work. And even though it's not fun, you have to be able to lean into those losses and help shape and mold your athletes to understand how they can use those things. I think a coach who understands that they're leading a tribe, not just a group, understands that. And so, I probably sound like a broken record, but I just think this idea of a tribe, like I think I'll say this, excuse me. I believe the greatest coaches, believe that they're not just trying to create a team that can win games, win competition. I think they're trying to create a movement. That's what we're trying to do here with Home Team Sacramento. It's great. We have a podcast. We've talked about wanting to do some different events down the road, which is all great. But at the end of the day, we're trying to create something greater than just a podcast, than just a name, Home Team Sacramento, something that we feel is cool. We're trying to create a movement of coaches and athletes who have a passion and desire to not only see their teams and their teammates get better, they want to see their schools get better, and they want to have a positive impact on their schools. We want to see coaches and athletes who have a desire to impact the community where their schools reside. We want to see student athletes and coaches who have a desire to impact their entire city and the areas beyond. Coaches and athletes, we have a platform to do something with. We have a platform where people look to us, whether it be social media or out during competition. When you're an athlete, when you wear a jersey, people tend to look at you in a different way. And it's up to us to decide, okay, how are we going to use that influence? Are we going to use it selfishly and use our platform to build ourselves up and to make it as high as possible so we can climb as high as possible, no matter what or who we leave behind? Or are we going to take responsibility and ownership of that platform and use it in a way that says, hey, this is our tribe and this is what our tribe stands for. We're using this to make a positive impact. So we're going to compete with everything we have when we compete on the field. But when we're off the field, the example that we set is amazing. The example we set is one of honor and integrity. And we use that to make other people better. They're going to see that on the field and off the field, both the same. Even though we're competing our tails off on the field, we're still going to be people that are incredible vehicles and incredible outlets of character and integrity, no matter what we do. And I think that kind of example is going to have a major effect on the people following behind you, the people that come into that program behind you, and the people that live in that community, because they're going to see that athletes are doing some incredible things, and that's going to stick out to them. And it's going to encourage and inspire others. And so I'm just really passionate about this idea of, creating tribes. And again, like, how do you do it? I think, for me, it's holding a standard of excellence for your team. And again, I'm not talking about, hey, excellence to us is wins and losses. If we win, we're excellent. If we lose, we're not. That's part of it, sure. But I think, I think there's a greater thing there where it's like, no, we hold a standard of excellence on this team, in this tribe, that says when you step onto this field, whether it's the weight room, whether it's the classroom, whether when you're out in the community with your family, whether you're on the field during competition, we hold a standard of excellence that says we give our very best at all times. We pick up our teammates. We treat people the right way. We respect the game. We play hard the whole time. And we give our very best. And that's the kind of excellence that we're talking about. Like we don't settle for mediocrity in this tribe. This tribe is built on character and excellence. And if you want to be a part of it, you have to understand that that's what we expect of you. And some people may not be willing to go on that journey with you, and that's okay. They may not be ready yet. But for the ones that are ready, they're counting on us as coaches to lead them in that direction. Are we willing to lead them towards this mentality and this idea of excellence when it comes to the things that we do? And I believe that if we can create a tribe, a movement that has that mentality, that's the kind of thing that when they leave your program, when they go on to their careers and they have their own families and they're doing their own thing after high school and after college, those are the types of mentalities and the types of lessons that they're going to take with them. And it's going to have a tremendous lasting impact on their life, because that's something that goes beyond the field. Those are the things that can help them every single day. When they're having a bad day at work, that will help them. When they're having a rough time with their family and they're dealing with tragedy, that's going to help them get through those times. We're using lessons from the sports field, the place where we love to compete and have fun. We get to use those lessons to help them become better people. And I think that's the most incredible thing about sports. And that's the most incredible thing that your tribe, the tribe that you're leading as a coach, can provide for those athletes, because it doesn't just end when they leave the field. It never ends. If you do it the right way, if we can teach these concepts the right way, and if we can teach these lessons the right way, these are things that they'll take with them for the rest of their lives. We're just adding tools to their toolbox. But we got to make sure that the tools we're adding to their toolbox are valuable enough for them to take and hold and value and carry with them. And I think if we can do that, you're not going to just have a group. You're not going to have just a crowd of athletes. You're going to have a tribe, and you're going to create a movement within your team, within your school, and within your city. That's what we're trying to do here with Home Team Sacramento. We're trying to build a movement of athletes and coaches who believe that doing the right thing is the only thing. And anything less than that is unacceptable. We are meant to do the right thing and lead the way for everybody else, so that inspires them to do the right thing as well. So yeah, we're talking about individuals. As a coach, you're leading a tribe of people. You're leading a tribe of student athletes. But the greater picture, like we've always said every single week, Home Team Sacramento, we're all a part of this bigger tribe. And the stronger each individual program is, the stronger that each individual school is, the stronger our home team becomes. And I'm just so thankful that we have so many amazing coaches that are already doing this. For some of you guys that are listening, you're like, man, I do this stuff already. Perfect. We're counting on you guys to lead the charge. I've said it before, and I'm not trying to diminish anything that I do, but I'm not a coach. I'm not on the front lines like you guys are. I'm not making those same sacrifices that you guys are when you're coaching your young men and women. I'm not doing it. I believe my role here is a podcaster. I love having conversation. I love tossing these ideas out there. So maybe it starts conversation. And hey, if I'm completely wrong on all this stuff and this is not valuable, feel free to let me know. I'm open to it. But my whole goal is not to ever sound like a know-it-all or someone who's trying to tell coaches what to do. But my whole thing is like, man, I want to have the conversation. I want to create a platform that allows coaches to maybe take bits and pieces here that they feel like maybe add value to their coaching and their coaching mentality and their athletes. And maybe it just starts a conversation. Maybe it's a conversation starter amongst you and your coaches. I don't know. But I feel like that's the role that we play in this thing. And obviously Kevin's role in this whole thing is not just as a podcaster, but also primarily as a speaker who goes around the city and motivates and inspires, encourages coaches and athletes to find their greatness. So between the two of us, we're just trying to have conversation. We're just trying to build up his home team. And we're just both incredibly thankful that you guys are listening to this. And we're incredibly thankful that you guys do so much work to make this home team better. Like I can't thank you guys enough because the work you guys do is incredibly important. And so, that's all I've got today. That's enough of my ranting, my 20-minute rant. So, you guys can follow us at Home Team Sac on all social media platforms, including YouTube, where you can watch this podcast if you want. Please subscribe there. Subscribe on your favorite podcast app.